Hello there everyone and welcome back. It is time to play with a little bit of Necron, and oddly enough, I think I'm going to play with a more traditional type of Necron fleet. Although when I say traditional, I guess it's one of the early type of fleets that were utilized in Armada 2. Before the Ruiner was introduced, and that kind of opened up the possibility of Gauss particle whip type of fleets. It's not just the Battlecruiser itself that enabled that. The arc propagator gained buffed to allow all ships to benefit from this kind of chain lightning effect. It's really what made the particle whip so prominent. But I think I've already did that the last two times, maybe played with an all ruiner type of fleet. So we're going to mix up by investing in harvesters and of course benefit from the indomitable, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time saying that. The indomitable presence of the Cairn Tomb ship. Because when you think Necrons, this ship may very well be the first thing you think of, especially if you played the tabletop game. So, I am going to indulge, just like I have been indulging when I play Space Marines, in playing with their battle barges and their battleship. It's a lot of fun. But, honestly, my own personal preference, I think I like the Shrouds more. The only reason why the cruisers would be more practical is because the additional Star Pulse waves are so integral to at least defending yourself as Necrons. Sure, they can do good amount of damage, especially if they have low armor, but let's be serious, the main strength of the Star Pulse wave, especially when you factor in the poor defense, point defense, and very little, if lackluster type of fighter defense for the Necrons, this is meant to protect yourself from the fighters and torpedoes that come your way, since burst damage is definitely a real scare for Necrons. They can regenerate their health nicely, but without shields, they're always going to be at risk of suffering critical hits, which can be a really big deal if you're not careful. And it's going to be fun. The Necron having 100% accuracy, ideally they want to stay at range. Even if I'm mostly just hitting with the particle whips, that is still a good amount of damage, and I don't know why I have the asteroid shield on, but we will switch it over to Tesseract Crypt because keeping stances can be pretty useful, especially if I'm not dealing with anyone that has the Disruption Overcharge or the Spear Crystal lenses to kind of pause my health regeneration, the whole cauterization as it's called in game. Since again, I don't have the shields as kind of a rechargeable health that protects me from all that. I have the whole cauterization, which has a bunch of extra text on it. Good God. I wonder when it was this elaborate. Even though I recall when the change was made. I don't recall it ever being visually apparent though. But yeah. And apparently, yeah, the cruisers generate like like 3/4 of a hit point every second. Before it was used to be a single hit point. So I am probably going to rely on the Tomb Ship a lot for taking the hits, and of course with its critical hit resistance being a battleship, it's going to take those hits really damn well. Especially if I switch over to the reactive hull shift. But let's have some fun. Okay, so we're going to immediately face off against blue, I guess. So it honestly comes down to, is this the same Grand Cruiser fleet I played up against before or not? Because that means, if that's the case, then that means I am not dealing with torpedoes, but I am going to deal with a lot of potential armor-piercing damage, which could be a problem. Since I only have, really, my inertialist drive to kind of disengage and maneuver, and that's going to be hard to evade and do damage at long range. In just a moment, I'm just turning down my headphones audio a bit, so that should not intrude with the video itself, but if they get in close to me and in point blank range, that could be a bit of a problem. And even then, there is always the possibility of me suffering random critical hits too. And I don't think hull cauterization is probably what I want, and to start off with at least. Since Imperial Navy does not have Disruption Overcharge, so I will have my health regeneration all times, ideally. And I want to keep my deck for the stances to continue that. And I'm not really going to benefit from cover the best, I don't think, but I do want a stasis bomb in case he gets super aggressive, and again, if there are torpedoes to concern myself with. They may not do a whole lot, but there is that possibility. In Scare Swarm, if they do get close briefly, I could do a lot of damage to them, and of course regenerate health, but I don't know if these are the ideal upgrades or skills that I want. With that said, we will see. But I am going to rely a lot on my part equips to do damage initially. I think is the plan. And let's not launch the fighters on the flagship, because that invokes a longer cooldown. And if I can destroy engines, maybe that's helpful, but again, we don't know what we're up against. Well, that answers that question. Dictators. Dictators are not too scary on their own, but there is a possibility I can get overwhelmed with the Star Pulse generator. So, gotta keep that in mind. Are they all dictators, though, is the big question? Well, this is amusing. And, I don't want to go after engines on all of them, but crippling some of them might be useful, because again, with ramming spurs and all that, they are going to want to get aggressive, I think. Because the closer they are, especially with short burn torpedoes, it is drastically that much harder for my Star Pulse to actually destroy those ordnance. Now just comes the question, what is best to prioritize with the Star Pulses? The torpedoes probably, because I think if Blue uses his bombers poorly, as in doesn't really have enough of a fighter screen, my own fighters could deal with them without need of a Star Pulse generator. Could. If they're all dictators, though, I'm very likely going to get overwhelmed still.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
And there's no point in scanner pulsing just yet, because that gas cloud is conveniently in the way. And I might be able to just dodge this outright, maybe. Although, you never know when those are melted torpedoes too, let's keep that in mind. That is one thing to keep in mind. So I gotta trust the light damage that we would take here.
What is your command?
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Inferior vessels sighted.
No. Melted torpedoes, okay. We kind of saw that coming a little bit. And I'm not quite in range for the part equip yet. And I do have the hull generation to soak a little bit of this damage. But now we're going to be getting the real damage, I think. I'm just wondering if there's a color differentiation or not. Because 1 or 2 torpedoes is not scary. Even if they are real damage torpedoes. I just am not in range to actually punish them yet, which is a little unfortunate. And I gotta keep in mind the hotkeys for the scanner pulse is a different button too, so that can be a bit of a problem. So what I'm gonna do is try and reveal these in preparation for the damage that we can do. Because sure, they're in a gas cloud, that won't mean much on its own. Okay. I don't think I have to worry too much then. They're going to get revealed as soon as they jump out, and we're going to play this circular game. Am I in range for the part equip, though? Well, I am now. So just do the damage, be mindful of star pulses, Alright, so... Now... Alright, maybe not as much damage as it could be, but we do have the hull cauterization to help. I don't really like this engagement because I should be turning away, but it's still a lot of damage. I'm regenerating hull. And now, be very mindful of this. I'm listening for it. Oh, unfortunately, it did not work out as I'm liking, though. I still have the hull cauterization, but this is a bad angle. Because now I burnt the Star Pulse generators for nothing. Flagship's gonna get burst down. Even though that was a really nice engagement to start off with. But, let's see, can I jump out in 8 seconds? So just regenerate. Keep damaging it there, although please move. You're not doing a good job moving, this is gonna hurt. They may still kill off the flagship as a result of this. Yep, they just killed it there because the inconvenient bounce of the... I don't know if you saw or not, but there was a bounce of some kind that allowed the ships to ram me twice. Now, continue regenerating the health. Sadly, I didn't get quite the damage I would have liked with the Scarab Swarm. And my decks are damaged, so I can't Star Pulse, can I? Nope, this is over. As much as I like to have jumped there and got more damage in, again, the truth is I should have moved upwards and not down when after disengaging, because that would have gave me more time, more opportunity to recharge everything. And it is a question if I should have gone with reloads or switched over to reload stance, especially on the cruisers. And sadly, the pathing kind of messed up a bit with the cruiser too, because I wanted them to get in the way of the ram attempt. That sadly did not happen, and that was mainly because the frigate was in the way. A little unfortunate. I am seriously wondering, maybe I should not have jumped as aggressively as I did. Could I? Because if this had done more damage, I could have crippled half their fleet really early. Because you saw how much damage they were taking right off the bat there. It was the burst damage and the inconvenient, being a little too preemptive with my Star Pulse generator. Mainly because I have to. Since with short burn torpedo, even... What is it? The charge up time for a Star Pulse generator is actually longer than the minimum range distance traveled for short burn torpedoes. So it is almost impossible. I think it can even be demonstrated briefly, so I'll actually demonstrate what the issue was I was having there. Actually, yeah, let's just play with a torpedo. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. Okay, we'll give this one more try to just demonstrate what I meant with the Necrons and short burn torpedoes being very problematic if an Imperial Navy get in close range, since the Necron fleets, the AI generated fleets, actually did not have really any Star Pulse generators. Okay, this is looking a little bit better. So the idea was you can't reactively use your Star Pulse generators in close range because of how the movement speed due to short burn torpedoes kind of give it the extra speed necessary to hit in there, and it's definitely apparent. It will be apparent, at least. I'm going to try and demonstrate it, because I'm going to get as close as I can to a ship with star pulse generators, although I got to keep in mind. Let's see. Okay, so they have two tomb ships. The AI is smart to just activate the star pulse generators once everything gets in range. And normally, with the 600 movement speed of torpedoes, they can, if they listen for it, which can be really tricky if I'm not zoomed in to listen to the audio cues. You can technically wait until your opponent literally fires the torpedoes and then activate your star pulse generator then. But with the short burn torpedoes, that's not really possible, but I think because I burnt all their cooldowns, I'm gonna have to wait until that gets recharged. So, hopefully, I'll be able to demonstrate this, although it's not going very well with that said. Especially with my ships constantly losing their torpedoes. Maybe I should have prioritized the weapons instead. Oh, never mind. Never mind, they're just activating the star pulse generator anyway. There. That may have been hard to see, but the AI, if they are good at one thing, they are good at immediately activating the star pulse generators as soon as fighters and bombers get in range. And even then, the torpedoes did not get destroyed in time. That alone is why you should try to avoid at all costs a close range engagement with the Imperial Navy, which is kind of why I took the stasis bomb as well, to kind of prolong that sum. It was a little bit unfortunate since the bouncing apparently caused me to take more ramming damage than needed, and it was just enough for him to kill my battleship there too. Although the split fire probably did not help me either, which is why, again, I probably should have gone northward, upward, instead of turning into their second fleet. Because that might have been a bit of a different story, because it would have given me more time for cooldowns to come back up, especially the inertialess drive, which, if I had changed over to reload in that time, that may have made a world of a difference too, possibly. Alright, so just Corsairs this time around. But Spear Crystal Lenses could be annoying, but if I can get a read of where they're at, inertialess drive can be devastating there, because then I have a decent amount of lightning arcs to kind of do a lot of damage to them. The only problem with the cruisers though is that they are broadside lightning arcs, so it's really difficult for them to do the damage necessary. So I'm going to be relying a lot on fission, my fighters some, although I don't really need my stasis bomb as much, I want to argue. It is a question of Scarab Swarm be handy here, because I get the suspicion we're probably going to be dealing with Devil Void Stalker. At least they have the comfortable range to avoid me some. Arc Propagator. If it's Devil Void Stalker, Arc Propagator is not really going to do a lot, but Structural Analyzer could be amazing to compound on their high critical hit chance. It could be. I'm going to be honest, it's been a while since I played up against Devil Void Stalker. Never mind as Necron, no less. Against Drukhari, it can be a pretty simple match because they can get screwed over quite heavily due to the lack of a hollow field.
Relocated.
Well, this is... okay. This is interesting. We are... oh no, it's Asuryani. Okay, for some reason I thought it was Corsairs. Alright. So, I got a skill I did not need, alas, so that's a little unfortunate, but they do have the torpedoes, and this could be an opportunity where I can deflect their torpedoes pretty well, because they only have 2 Phoenixes and 2 Cruisers is what it looks like. I could deal with them decently, I just gotta watch for the bombers. Use my own fighters appropriately.
Initializing motive power.
It's a shame I misread this, that these were Corsairs and not Asuryani. But let's go with the challenge at least, and ideally have the tomb ship take the shots first because of the higher critical hit chance.
Ready to serve.
You have seized a strategic area.
And there's not really much point in his scanner pulses there.
Inferior vessel sighted.
Alright,
The
so double
enemy has
Phoenix is
seized a
there.
strategic area. The enemy has seized a strategic area.
So we know where they're at. They have armor piercing, so super aggressive type of fleet
How may I serve?
is what it's looking like.
On the march.
So let's see if we can take advantage of this in some form. And we don't know what the other two ships are, so I don't think it's possible that it's 3 Phoenixes and a frigate then. Or like, because the movement, I did not pay attention to their movement all that great, but
Drop void anchors.
let's see, are they torpedoes more importantly? Yes, they are, and they're just the Star Pulse cannons.
I serve your glory.
So I think we prioritize, well, destroying the generators is important.
Sphere.
So Dex already gained the damage, that's unfortunate.
Motive power.
So let's see, try and minimize the damage because this looks like it might just be a brute force. There, that denied that Star Pulse generator. Maybe not much, maybe not impressive enough, but it is something there. Yeah, that may be a mistake there too, because of course I played into their hands a little bit. Dang it. If only I knew, if only these things had hotkeys, because I can't really rapidly reconstruct the ship and also do a Star Pulse generator because there is no hotkey for that button. But I can regenerate health. That will help alleviate this some. I think I'm just going to lose due to brute force in this though. Because you're not moving at all, are you? Which is a little unfortunate.
The enemy has accumulated 25% of
Oh my.
strategic points.
It had promise there, but... And you don't have a Star Pulse generator anymore. Now, are you actually going to do the shot? And I switched over to reload, didn't I? Not the hull regeneration, which probably didn't help much either. So that's unfortunate. And of course, Lamb get the double hit too. Again, I did not account for this fleet all that well either, because I had a dang beacon which was unnecessary.
Strategic points.
Because I know what would have been useful in this matchup. I know what would exactly be useful, and I'm wondering if we can get a rematch of the Asuryani. It's not likely though, because the only reason it was aimed like it was because it could have got 2 ships, but I'm not sure this maneuver could have saved the tomb ship there. And again, we did deny the torpedoes, but again, no hotkey on the Star Pulse generator makes that incredibly difficult to time out, at least to do it perfectly. But we did do it in that first pulse. Alright, so nothing too exciting here. I really would have liked that rematch with the Asuryani there. Because apparently, with the fact that I completely did not think about Maelstrom, I played that completely wrong too, because up until I actually jumped, that was going amazingly for me, arguably. And if I did lose engines and it prompted them to use the Maelstrom on my damaged ship, then possibly I could have just did a pyramidical reconstruction there and immediately jumped out. But again, I don't really play Necron all that much. Never mind the fact my preferred Necron fleet, which is no longer valid, arguably, is the dang 5 Shroud fleet, which is really nice because it has the Shroud effect. it can keep invisible for almost the entire battle, but it doesn't play out all that great anymore, sadly. And they do have Disruption Overcharge here, so this may be a bit of a tough match for me. But I can ignore their shields. It's a question of how do I enable my ships to get recharged in their health? That is the question. Because I actually want to go over here, at least to be able to grab objectives some. And Novacans are definitely problematic because if we deal with 5 cruisers, that's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with. A big pain in the ass. And let's get Arc Propagator because that'll be useful here, but will I actually be able to get away with a Lightning Link? Probably not, if I am honest. And Stasis Bomb probably is not all that helpful either, but Inertialist Maneuver might be useful here because we are again dealing with Nova Cannons. So engines are probably not helpful here. Destroying their deck. Let's see. What are we up against though? We have 2 frigates, so
Ready to serve.
it's at least not the 5 cruiser type of fleet. At least not at the moment. That's all I can tell you in this regard.
Drop void
Which does not mean much yet. And I actually do want to kind of spread out, but to minimize the Novacan shot.
as you command.
It's a bit of an odd circumstance because at the same time,
Spear.
if they can focus down their fire on one of my ships, I am not regenerating my health either. Which is probably why I should have gone for the reload stance instead.
Ready to serve. On the march.
So, let's see, there's not really all that great cover for me either if I wanted to like fall back at some point, but we saw them boosting. I just gotta make sure I'm confident enough I can actually hit them with any particle whips if I'm even gonna use them.
Moving.
Because killing some of the frigates would still be nice if I can be allowed to do that.
As you command.
But I don't even need a scanner pulse, do I?
Ready to serve.
You
And
have seized a
we don't know what that
strategic
ship is
area.
yet. Alright,
What is your command?
let them boost away.
Inevitable.
That was unfortunate because it don't think I'm gonna get out in time. No, okay, I did get out.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
And I'm not seeing lance fire, but I'm taking hits right now.
Inferior vessels sighted.
And again, it's a bad engagement for me here.
Ready to serve.
I can regenerate health nicely, but
Relocating. Motive units fully engaged.
so we're just gonna jump out,
Yes.
attempt to regenerate health some,
Inferior vessels sighted.
and try. Actually, I should just use the reload stance when I get a chance. Although that was bad. Especially since the micro warp jump or inertialist drive didn't do much either.
Your command.
You got scanner pulse, so that's probably why you're detected still.
Inevitable.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
And let's see, this is triple. No, just 2 and 2, okay. So I could soak some of the damage, but I need to actually be able to hit these things, which is easier said than done. So that's going to take a lot of hits there. Get in the gas cloud so I can do a lot of hull regeneration for this thing.
Is your command. Initializing motive power.
Because I don't think my park whips are able to do much here at the moment. Am I even in range to hit? Park whips are not hitting what needs to be hit.
All power to motive units. How may
Alright. Are you even actually doing damage? I'm honestly wondering. It almost feels like it's not, if I were to be honest, but...
Impossible. Cannot comply.
The enemy is seizing
It has
one
the
of your
speed. Can it
strategic
dodge in
areas.
time?
Drop void anchors.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Gotta be mindful. They are burning a lot of Nova cans, but is it enough for me to take advantage of?
Initializing mode.
It apparently is, if only temporarily.
Relocating.
Because you notice disruption overcharge is going to cause problems here still, but
Drop void anchors.
get that hit in, recharge the shields. Continue to do what damage we can. And if I can, board the flagship, or at least the battleship.
Mode units.
I probably shouldn't have done that, in all honesty, but it was a bit of a panic response too. Ah, dang it. Sadly, I might still lose this despite my best attempts. But we are doing a lot of damage though. Your deck was destroyed. Alright, you burn all your combustion gauge, which doesn't mean much yet. Because my tomb ship might still die on me. Because their flagship's still alive with the red storm after all. And I still have a lot of health to regen on the flagship, but
Drop void anchors.
that's probably not going to help very much, sadly. I'm just going to get rammed to death. It's the sad truth of the matter. It was a valiant fight, because this is definitely not a good matchup for Necron, with them being able to just straight up deny my health regeneration. Yeah, because so long as they could keep hitting me, I can't regenerate my health.
Critical damage. Yes.
The enemy has
Well.
accumulated 50% of strategic points.
Unfortunate display. I apologize to all the Necron fans, even though we still have a frigate around. The most important thing was trying to minimize the dang Novacan damage, alas. And all they did was ram me to death, which honestly, with the cruisers, can be more damage to them than it is to me. I'm just wondering, could I have done a little bit more? Because going after a flagship, of course, is massive amount of morale damage is actually relatively close to breaking. It's just easier said than done. I don't really have the convenience to just go after who I want. Because we've seen that if I try to aggressively jump in, I can potentially get punished incredibly hard for that. So it's not like I can focus in on the target I want. Because then they can do what I've been trying to do and just get our ships to block the shots.
The enemy is close to victory.
So it's not a good display to poor Necrons. I apologize. Alright, let's give this Necron fleet another try, and hopefully we can pull out a win this time. We will see. Since again I talked about how I can't reliably use my Star Pulse generators to stop their torpedoes if they get in close, unless I'm lucky enough to predict when they're going to engage or at least attack me with them. And maybe I can get lucky with some preemptive shots, but that is definitely easier said than done compared to like the Asuryani match with Blue there, where I managed to deflect, even though he got like point blank range, still managed to deflect the torpedoes. And if I hadn't done the aggressive jump, maybe there could have been something there for me. Either way, let's try to get that victory, and I am. Well, Stasis Bomb I still feel like can be really useful here, because again, I don't want them to get close to me because of the possibility of the armor-piercing ammo, and what is it? Armor-piercing ammo and of course the torpedoes themselves. So the longer I can keep them at a distance, at least for the particle whips to do damage, the better, because we were still doing a lot of damage there. If I had tried to fly away from them to get a little bit more time for my cooldowns, and hell, I am still wondering. I do want to start with reactive hull shift because that extra durability can be amazing if I can get full value out of it. But reload could have been useful there just for more damage and faster jumping. Never mind. Well, I don't. Star Pulse Wave. The Star Pulse Generator would not have done a whole lot there. It's like, what, a 3-minute cooldown, and the damage there is mitigated by the armor, so it's not going to do all that impressive damage as far as like trying to kill the ships quickly. And it looks like we're dealing with 4 battleships here, if I had to guess. So I'm just wondering what to prioritize, because if they are battleships, then they're going to have pitiful mobility. Still a question of what kind of ships they are, though. If they're Apocalypse, that could be a problem.
You have seized a strategic area.
Because then I have to spread out. I'm forced to spread out, and I won't have the convenience of, like, spraying out the fire while my ships regenerate health. So we're going to have to find out as quickly as we can. And I want to say that probably... I don't know, I wasn't paying attention how long that was there, so is that a light cruiser? As opposed to, like, a frigate. Okay, so we got an Oberon there.
Ready to serve.
I will be able to find out what they are soon enough, so... I am just curious. Well, yeah, this one frigate should be able to reveal them for me easily enough. And you, on the other hand, I don't know what I want with you. Maybe you can go harass whatever's on the right flank.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
And I don't want to jump needlessly, but I'm going to get reveal regardless, so... And again, if there's any apocalypses, that could be a problem anyway, due to the whole damage that they can just easily do to me. So I am revealed there. They did lose vision because of the convenient gas cloud, though. Now, let's find out what these are. I want to at least reveal all of them first.
Inferior vessels sighted.
Okay, so that was kind of justified with at least 3 apocalypses. So jumping is not a good idea unless I'm jumping like on their flank or on their side. I just don't want to get burst down too much. Because I can regenerate the hull pretty well. And dang it, the bug kicked in where I got hit with the light cruisers, or the cruiser as well, which is unfortunate. Okay, is there a way I do want to yeah, I have to regenerate my hull, what can I say? I don't really have much of a choice anymore now. But that's going to keep them from moving. I could start doing damage to them, I just got to prioritize ships. Okay, so it's really 2 frigates, that's fine. And I'm gonna have to just force to regenerate my hull, because this might suck a bit. Because those Nova cannons are just going to wreck me really quickly, aren't they? And I don't, and because I switched out of reload, I'm not going to be able to stop this Nova cannon shot. I can still take the hits. I'm regenerating the health. And they have no vision once the, what is it, the ability turns off there. Yeah, the Emperor's Tarot. Or Tarot. I'm forgetting again. So I am still going to take a lot of hits here, but I'm hoping maybe I can regenerate health. With Nova cannons, it's a little problematic, needless to say.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
And I am going to take ramming damage. Just get out of the stasis bomb. That's all you need to do there. I don't think that's going to help me enough, though. Try as I wish. Because, sure, I'm safe from their Nova cannons now, but there's not much I can do there. Unfortunately. So maybe this is just a terrible fleet in this case. Well, really, I'm trying to think if I had, like, the particle whip fleet, how would that have done better? Well, really, it would have done better because I would have had more firepower and range, maybe. But that's unfortunate. Because the Apocalypse were the one battleship I did not want to go up against because of the Nova cannons. I'm just thankful there wasn't 4 of them, I suppose. But a little good that's doing me there. Even though morale might break pretty soon for this one ship. It's not gonna make a difference, alas. And you don't have your engine, so you can't actually jump out, so.
The enemy has accumulated 25% of strategic funds.
That is unfortunate. And again, with the particle, the particle whip fleet, how would that have fared better? If it would have fared better. Well, I would have had a lot more damage on the shields, my hit points would have been spread a bit more. And the mobility would have been a little bit better, which might be at least slightly more useful, but this is just an unfortunate display. Alright, so I'm not gonna get my rematch to try and refine things, but in this case I did switch over to the particle whip fleet just to at least put a much more serious effort in, because at the very least I would imagine this would be one of the more troublesome type of fleets for anyone to go up against, just because they can ignore shields, so we're sort of in a weird way on equal footing, and by that I mean my fleets are very likely to get critical hits versus their fleets suffering from critical hits now that the particle whip kind of ignores their shields, although it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out still. And I'm wondering, we're almost certainly not going to be dealing with pyro acid, I'm willing to bet that, so we're going to have boarding. Well, boarding is going to be very lackluster because of star pulse waves. And torpedoes can be dealt with decently as well. Let me just actually maneuver my ships to maybe grab the points and open up for a possibility there. And Scarab Swarm is really dangerous for this situation, but it's almost impossible to hit them with a trans-dimensional bolt or really anything else. Because the slow movement speed of the bolt, the long cooldown time, and the fact they need to stay still for lightning link. Only thing I can think of is a mass recall, maybe, to bait them to go after these ships here. It just means the flagship will need to somehow hang back. Somehow. And I do have fighters to help with spotting too. At least to mitigate where they might be. So, not much else left to say here. We're just waiting for him to ready up, and then we will listen for any audio cues that they might have. Do I have to... Well, I was going to say maybe I could have swapped out my upgrade. Okay, we have audible rushes, so that's fine. So we kind of know where they're at. Without really much concern.
The enemy has seized a
Now we just gotta
strategic
play it to our advantage somehow. And if they rush me down, well, again, the flagship needs to hang back for the mass recall to be its most impactful, or at least not where the other ships are.
Ready to serve.
So what do we have here? Just a frigate, nothing exciting there.
You have seized a strategic area.
And I do have 2 uses as a mass recall.
Yes, my liege.
Okay, so we have fighters there. That's a Pyroacid one, so this is interesting. Okay, it's not so much the Pyroacid, more the carrier ship, which we can deal with that. We can deal with those incredibly well. And boarding torpedoes, okay. Like I said, we can deal with those incredibly well. And hopefully, well, I don't think killing the crew is much of an option, but if they try and regenerate their crew, then that's not going to do them a lot of good.
The enemy has seized a strategic area. The enemy has seized
Now
a strategic area.
I guess I unfortunately flew out of this point, but we could deal with that easily enough.
Inferior vessels sighted.
We just watch for the fighters, deal with that.
Serve your glory.
You have seized a strategic area.
All power to mold you.
And we do have armor piercing potential for the crackers and all that, which of course are going to try and slow me down. That's the one main thing they like to do. And they are Pyroacid, not like torpedoes or boarding. And I have no fear for these guys. I just gotta grab objectives to eventually start punishing them, or at least start get some momentum going.
I am the dynasty's spear.
Because they're gonna be hit in a moment, that's fine. Let's at least kill something.
What is your command?
Now just get in range and start damaging them. And you're miscontrolling this a little bit. You should have been hit ages ago, but that's fine.
I serve your glory.
We will just kill off these frigates since you're making that simple for me. Fire assaults are not all that exciting, but we just gotta watch for... Actually, I could start launching fires, but I think those are better served going after any boarding parties. Okay, we know where the flagship is.
As you command.
We're just gonna have to start getting some damage in and gain some well,
The dynasty's spear.
we can easily grab these 2 points. We're doing damage to the frigates nicely enough. I just don't want to jump to the possibility. Oh god. Because, yeah, you weren't going to recharge in time, alas, so I couldn't get them all 4 of them like I want. And that didn't even hit them. So that was a little bit of a waste, but
Initializing motive power.
I think we're golden. Let's get the Dirch in there and reveal things, because that's what Dirches are good for.
Inferior vessels sighted.
And see if we can at least start killing off these ships.
I serve your glory.
Because they are going to try and rush me down and board me,
The
but
enemy is seizing
you have
one
your
of
Star Pulse
strategic
generator
areas.
recharged. We're good there. No, you're just not going to... Okay, so you're just running away. That's fine.
The enemy has seized a strategic
I'm really
area.
worried about
You have
jumping
seized a
on them and
strategic
getting
area.
aggressive because their rush allows them to immediately turn around.
Ready to serve.
And this will be the easiest attempt to deal with these boarding. We're destroying weapons. I'm just wondering, destroying their burning, it's denying them stances is probably not all that impactful in all honesty, but we know where the flagship is. And I do have Star Pulse Generator available. So oh, they did manage to get boarding. Oh, you got the Lightning Strike. The Lictor Brood, okay. 10 seconds. Let's not get distracted because I don't have a hotkey for this. So. Now I do want to switch to start regenerating the crew. Because the flagship is getting boarded quite a bit here. And they're going to spore me, so that's kind of okay. I gotta be mindful. I think the Dirge needs to start grabbing points here. It's gonna take a while, but... And we know where the flagship is. Again, I can jump out at a moment's notice. So all these spores are not gonna do much on their own. The Dirge is not moving. So get to fixing that, please. Now, let's just start killing off ships, because now they're getting aggressive. 20 seconds until I could do like some mass recall and shenanigans. And I do have fighters for when they go all boarding.
You have accumulated.
And I have to start switching the reload because it does, well, maybe it's not as impactful as I like to think. Since it is, I have to wait like a full minute before I even regenerate a part of my crew after all. So is it really all that helpful? In all honesty, I wonder. So you're probably just gonna burn to death. Gotta be mindful of boarding, because sadly this is gonna board the flagship. And I don't have a... Oh, okay, I do have a Star Pulse Generator.
The enemy is seizing one of your strategic areas.
So I don't know if this is gonna be enough. Because my crew is getting devoured right now.
50% of strategic points. The enemy has seized a
Yeah, I don't
strategic
think I'm
area.
gonna have the attrition for this, dang it. If I can destroy a flagship, maybe. Maybe. Oh, that was... I don't know why I even thought to do that. That was dumb of me. And where all... Oh, did my Dirge get devoured? Aw. Yeah, I don't have enough firepower to kill this. Even if I try and go after it. Unfortunately. I can jump away, but that doesn't help me a whole lot. It denies me getting boarded a little bit longer, though. So let's at least try again with grabbing the points. Since apparently that failed before. But I am basically going to lose the crew here. My decks have been permanently destroyed because of the boarding. So now I don't have my Star Pulse Generator on most of my ships. It had promise there. The mass recall was nowhere near as effective as it could have been, though. And honestly, maybe would Resurrection Orb have been useful there, because that's a long 3-minute cooldown as well for only 3 crew. And even then, that only takes effect when I lose the first third of my crew capacity. And I'm not able to board because I just literally board. And scuttling is not going to help me because they just jump out of the way. Never mind the shields. This is where the subtle benefit of the park whip does not work in my advantage. Well, this is not my day, is it? Unfortunately. I apologize to the Necron players, this is a poor display. And apparently there's a bunch of defensive platforms for the Tyranids to devour now. Well. Let us hope we can do better for the next video.